Hey everybody, it's Scott Beebe with Business on Purpose, where we exist and are here for one reason, and that is to help liberate you from the chaos of working in your business. And we hope to do that really, really well today. The headline landed this past week, and so many people thought it might be coming, and there it was. Recession, the word has come up. Since 2008, virtually every business owner has thought, so when is the next recession going to come? And how bad is it going to be? And like to think we can predict those things, but many times we can't predict those things. And so we have to start asking ourselves, what does that look like? Yours truly has wrestled with some of the same questions during moments of emotional and mental weakness in my well-documented struggle with fear. If you go to punchfearinthemouth.com, there's a talk I did a couple of years ago, and we'll post that here in the post as well. Recently, though, I've wondered, could you approach a market dip with enthusiasm and expectation rather than doom and gloom? I think so, and here's what I mean by that. The low country of South Carolina, where our family lives, has been on the receiving end of active hurricanes each of the past 3 years. And it's nice to believe that we can hurricane-proof our home as much as we can, but the reality is that the best we can possibly work towards is a thoughtfully hurricane-reinforced home, a hurricane-reinforced home. My neighbor Fred actually owns a small hurricane Shudder business that they do some work with and some really cool stuff. And I thought I had that. Yeah, there it is right there. Hurricane Shudder business, and it allows homes and businesses to provide reinforcement in really nasty weather. But if that hurricane barrels in as a direct Category 5, no offense to my buddy Fred, but not even those storm panels will do much to assist in the event that the entire house was blown from its foundation. And so we have to think through that and what that looks like. Even some well-run businesses have been knocked off of their foundations during the Great Recession. But in most cases, the businesses that were recession reinforced were able to withstand. So here are a few non-negotiables to reinforce your business so that if a market dip does end up coming, you can go into the storm with expectation and anticipation rather than doom and gloom. And by the way, these are in no particular order. I'd kind of take that back. Maybe the first one is. I'm a little biased to this first one, and that is simply that your vision story is more important than cash. And I'm serious about that. Liquidity, accessible cash, is a delightful tool, and we would love to all have liquidity in excess, but it's more crucial to have vision. In a market storm, debris usually gets thrown around, and if your perspective is lost, your course can easily be thrown off. Ed Sheeran, I was actually listening to a song while I was writing this article, and in his song Lego House, I think the braces are breaking, is what he said. I think the braces are breaking. In a storm, braces have a chance to break, and equilibrium kind of gets thrown off for just a little bit. And while the storm is raging, and when the storm is complete, it's both refreshing and comforting and recentering to know and have confidence in your heading, to know exactly where it is that you're trying to go. By the way, ship captains and airplane pilots, I think, would surely agree with this, right? Going through a storm, piloting through a storm, to be able to look up and go, okay, I'm still on my heading. That's where I want you to be as a business owner. The only way we can lead a team to run, the only way we can lead a team to have that heading through a storm is to write the vision down. Literally write it down with a pen and a piece of paper or a digital Google Doc or something. Write it down and communicate it with incredible repetition. I remember one time Dave Ramsey said, the train's going this way, the train's going this way, the train's going. He just kept saying it over and over and over again to a really strong point that the train is going this way. All right, there's another thing that we want you to have in place to be able to work if a recession comes, and that is we want you to have cash, because cash is buoyant and cash gives you options. What does buoyancy mean? Well, it's a float. It's a float, and so cash gives you the opportunity to have a float. In a typical room full of business owners, if I had everyone raise their hand who could make it through 3 months of business with no revenue, not many people would be able to respond. I wouldn't ask that question publicly anyway. The hurricanes here in the low country exposed some businesses to the reality that they could not even survive 1 week of zero revenue generation, let alone a few months of market correction. So we recommend that businesses have an accessible reserve of 3 to 6 months of cash reserve to live on, under the assumption that no new revenue was generated during that time. It's not a move based on fear, but it's a move based on wisdom. And by the way, you can't get there overnight. It's going to take some time, thoughtfulness, methodical wisdom decision-making to be able to get there. A decision based on fear, by the way, or greed, is to have 2 years of cash built up, unless you're maybe a farmer, because hoarding is not a healthy bias either. But the likelihood of zero revenue is not very high in most industries. So most of you are not going to have to worry about that. If you have cash, you have options. Write that down. If you have cash, you have options. One option is to float the entire business with no reduction of overhead or personnel. So that's one option that you can go for. If you float the business on that cash with overhead and personnel, and you can just kind of continue to float. The second option is to thoroughly trim the business expense in line with the new revenue. Obviously, this is easier to do with a team of subcontractors versus a team of full-time employees. The most exciting option, though, is to have cash available to purchase other businesses, and sometimes even at a discount. Remember all those hands in the room that would not go up? I don't think I've got that much reserve. Many of those represent good products that are simply poorly managed and can be revived with your leadership. And you may be able to also purchase those businesses, the assets, the people, the contracts, the relationships, at a discount during a stormy market, not in a mean-spirited way, but actually in a very kind way. Because if you can buy that business, you're actually offering opportunity to a lot of people who would have otherwise been let go. But you can't do that if you don't have cash. The smoothest way to build cash, by the way, that we have found over and over and over again, hundreds of times, is through Mike Michalowicz's book, Profit First. Read it and do it. No excuses, please. But what about my CPA? Well, go get another CPA. What about my bookkeeper? Well, teach them what to do. What about my bank? Go to South Atlantic Bank. They'll help you. You cannot do this if you don't have cash. So read it, profit first, do it, no excuses. All right, the third element that you can do to help recession reinforce your business, and so you're going to laugh at me, but just go with me, team meetings. Team meetings will ensure that the right things will be communicated in the right way. Having endured the geographical displacement of a few hurricanes now has helped train us on the importance of predictable communication channels. Obviously, our family's together when we do that, so we're able to communicate in real time with real frequency, but that might even change this year. We're sending a daughter off to college in a few days, and so we've got to have a communication plan. And so we've already talked about having kind of a regular family meeting via FaceTime every couple of weeks just to all check in so that we've got good communication there. Our mayor, by the way, in our local town did a great job of communicating certain times and locations where she would be communicating to all of us displaced citizens using Facebook Live. So she had regular methodical placement. Our local sheriff also held a regularly scheduled update accessible to anyone, anywhere. If you do not have a regular method and frequency of communication, agenda-driven, leader-led, regularly set meetings, then a market storm, what it's going to do is further exacerbate the irregularity. It's going to exacerbate the frustration, the unpredictability of a communication challenge culture. So don't wait for a market storm to communicate using the team meetings. Do that now. Build that habit right now. I'm talking about now. Build the habit. If you have clarity of knowing where your business is going, if you have cash to keep you afloat, and if you have a reliable method of predictable communication, then your braces are less likely to break. As Ed Sheeran said, your braces are likely to break. Well, they're less likely to break. And Ed Sheeran will become more of a musical companion to you during an opportunity rather than being a prophet of doom through the storm. We don't want that. Hey, we can help you get started on this, by the way. We built something pretty powerful, both through the book that I wrote, Let Your Business Burn. You can go pick that up. It's on Amazon. It's got everything that we teach is in that book. And if you're so inclined to do it by yourself, you can DIY it right here at Let Your Business Burn. If you want our help, we have built an incredibly powerful piece of technology called the Business on Purpose Roadmap. It's our entire roadmap. in digital format. You've got access to it, and we walk you through it step by step. You can see step 0, step 1. And when you click on these, all these things we were talking about, in fact, 2 of the 3 things I mentioned today are right there on the roadmap. That vision story, we can help you create that vision story. We walk with you through it. Those profit accounts, we can help you do those profit accounts. We walk you through it. And all those things that we mentioned, team meetings, everything that we mentioned there is all right here on the Business on Purpose roadmap. We've made it super accessible to do to you. All you got to do is go to freedom.mybusinessonpurpose.com, and we've even priced it at a rate that is a no-brainer. We don't want you to think about that. We want you to focus on working on your firm. So go check those things out. freedom.mybusinessonpurpose.com. We are here to liberate you from your business chaos. Thank you as always for joining us. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, our podcast, the Business on Purpose podcast, and check us out at My Business on Purpose on Facebook as well. And we'll see you right there. We are here to serve you. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great weekend.